Hi guys, I thought I'd give you a quick rundown on the gear that I use. Pretty well, I run most of my stuff through Logic. As you can see, this is the new Logic Pro X. I like the system. It's a good price. I mean, if you work with Macs, you know, it's like 200, 300 bucks, and you start playing around with other stuff that's a hell of a lot more dearer. It works beautifully on Macs. Macs very stable. So this is a mid 2010 iMac 27 quad core. I've got the max I can get into it, which is 32 gig of RAM, which it seems to work fine. Occasionally you have your glitches. At the moment I use the big monitor here, and like I said before, I use it for the small stuff. Okay, so I have my mixer floating so I can actually see it. When I open up, say, the EQ here, I bring it over to the screen, I can really see it, you know, so it just makes life a lot easier. So that's just a 42-inch plasma, LED. That I'm still considering, now that I've raised my ceiling height, I'm still considering that will probably end up on this wall up here, and then I'll get another monitor beside it, but I'm not 100% on that yet, but anyway, I'll make decisions as we go. I started with my interface is a Focusrite Pro 40. Will do its own, so that's got 8 inputs and I've got 8 outs. So I've actually got that running individually into my headphone amp. So at the moment I've only got 2 channels. As you can see, they're actually activated, and that runs out through those cables I showed you. It's designed up over the top, and there the outlets are in the sound booth. So that's my interface at the moment. I also use, it's only a cheapie, but an Australian Monitor microphone. That's my talkback, so when people are in the booth and they've got headphones on, I can talk to them. I also have an Arts power supply, or power conditioner, that I run, and then of course I have in the floor, which is a bit hard to see, I have my battery backup, which is a must when you do this stuff. I had the electrician here and I wasn't really doing anything, but I was doing an update on the main operating system on this thing, and it was off, and I was like, oh shit. So I ran out and bought it's an Eaton 35 550, which gives me ample time to back up. It's got 4 outlets, and it's got 6 outlets, and it's got 3 that are battery backup, and 3 just have, you know, your standard spike protector and all that sort of waffle on it. I will be replacing my keyboard at a later stage for one that actually shows me all the shortcuts, because you've got to remember all the shortcuts. If anybody knows much about Macs, they love shortcuts, and I love my trackpad. Okay, that's wireless, of course. My newest members here are the B controllers, or BCF 2000s. Okay, they're only Behringers. They're not, you know, like $1 billion system, but they do me fine. They're all motorized. They fully control my software. As it when you load them, if the system was off, it'd have LC on it. You program to most programs, most your basic stuff. You know, your Pro Tools, your Logics, all that sort of stuff. They have presets in them, and this fully controls that unit. So now I have, like I said, we'll end up with 16 inputs, and this controls 16. This is a 16 channel. So for the minute, this will do me just fine. Later on will be Octopray will go up in this next batch here when I go to the 16 inputs. Okay, and it's a similar design, but basically you don't have this section here, you just have your inputs straight across, and they're all 8 inputs from the rear. So this becomes the master and the other one becomes the slave, and that's my interface. I've also got a Novation Impulse controller. That was my first acquisition. It had the mixers and everything on it that when I first started, I used this. I still use it for the record buttons and stuff like that. You can do record on your keyboard, but I quite often use that because there's a big red button, so you can't miss it. Also bought this BCR 2000 controller because of a lot of the, I think of them right now. They're synthesizers that come with Logic. They've got so much parameters that you can play around with. I can actually program this, and I've got like 14 pages, you know, and there's I think there's 32 control buttons, control surfaces on each page. So each page I go along, says page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can control up to 14 pages. So 14 times 32, knock yourself out. It is all programmable, so I can actually do a standard setup for myself for each of the synthesizers I want to control, and that I can then have it all pre-organized, and I can actually then play around with the parameters with that controller whilst I'm playing my keyboard. Okay. At the moment, because I'm in a tin shed, I don't have any monitor speakers. I have a set of little shitty ones there just so I can listen to something without doing anything major. But I'm not bothering until I've got the room finished, because there's no point. It's not going to give me accuracy. So what I did is I'm a big AKG fan, so I went out and bought these beautiful things. These are the 712s. These are they were the top end. You've got the 812s now, which are some ridiculous amount of money. But these are great cans. Great. I can spend hours with these puppies on my head, and yeah, they work really well. Highly recommend them. My latest requisition was I have Complete 10, Ultimate 10 from Native Instruments. Love them. So what I'm going to do was, originally I bought this to control some of their stuff, but they've brought out this beautiful thing, Complete Control keyboard, which has all the parameters on it. So that will be a later requisition, but at this stage I bought the Micro, which does a lot of the basic stuff. I bought the Micro, which does a lot of the basic stuff. You can go the Studio, you can go the Machine, which is bigger, but because I'm going to get the keyboard, I basically got this purely for the drum pads. So that's what that's bought for, and that does a lot of my music that I create myself. Other than that, I've got, you know, various instruments, didgeridoos. I've got Native American flutes I love playing, guitars. I've got my beautiful Fender jazz bass there, deluxe, and then my beautiful Warwick, my 5-string, my Corvetti, a couple of acoustic different guitars. It's my wife's one. This is a 1950s Tempo, beautiful sound in it. Had it all rewired and fixed up a while back, and just a couple of other ones. But in here I've got a few microphones and stuff. So if you come into the booth, I'll give you a look in here. Pretty well my main mic that I use is the Rode NT2, which is fantastic, as it's got presets on it and stuff like that I can play with. That's a fantastic mic. Love it to death. You will also see that because I've got Logic, you get a free program you can download, which, so when I'm doing stuff for myself, I have an interface here on my iPad which controls my software, and I think it's fantastic. The only thing I had to do is get my own network, which was a bit of a pain because these things work on Wi-Fi and I couldn't have it just talking to the computer. But anyway, it's just a bit of mucking around. Yeah, as you can see, there's the inputs, the volume controls. Did a little bit of recording during the week, so it's all good. Like I said, AKGs again, 240s. These are good. They're semi-open. I'm going to get a set of full closed later stage, but they're pretty good for the minute. So yeah, there's my stands and all that sort of stuff. The lighting's just nice on these. So there's my stand. Basically the room. Now I've got a guitar in here. I do a little bit of work in here myself. But yeah, it's all pretty good. So that's about it, pretty much on gear, as I'm a bass player more than anything else. But yeah, so all this gear is basically it. There's nothing else I can really talk about. I've got, you know, software all over the place from different places, but probably my biggest investment was Complete 10 Ultimate. So that's probably my biggest one. But yeah, most of it, and then as I go along, like I said, the the Native Instruments keyboard, I'm going to make a bracket underneath there with a slider and take that little shelf out so I can pull my keyboard out, so I can do it all from there. So I'll have my normal keyboard, which a lot of times I use that basically for most of the software now, but the Native Instruments one will be probably better because the simple fact is it has all the controls and basically all the bits that are missing off this little fella here, which will be on that controller. That's basically it. Anything else you want to know, give me a yell, but that's my basic setup. But anyway, alright guys, you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers, bye.